Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
The Online Success Journey continues with episode 291. Every guest shares the path that took them to success. So you want to subscribe right now and ensure you'll never miss a journey. I post at least one journey each week, and I would love for you to join me. Joining us today is Nathan A. Perez, award-winning author, national speaker, executive career and job search coach at Career Innovation. He brings to his clients a rare view on networking, job search, and career development. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Patience. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming. I know my audience are excited to hear your story, but just by telling us one thing, we are going to learn from you today that will help us on our journey to success.
That's right. Yep, we're going to talk about some networking and some career stuff today.
Oh, thank you. So I can't wait to hear about that. But let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am an executive career and job search coach. I actually work with all kinds of people who want to develop their career or find a job, but it's primarily executives and senior executives. I worked in the retained executive search industry for about 14 years. And if people aren't familiar with that industry, the retained executive search industry, it's firms like that are hired by other companies to find new executive leadership for their own organization. So like when a company needs a new vice president of HR or a new senior vice president of marketing or even a CEO, well, those roles you don't usually find them like posted online. So they usually get filled by one of two ways. It's by networking and these kinds of firms. And as I mentioned, I've been doing that for 14 years. But before I did any of that, I actually spent my first career was 20 years in the entertainment industry as a professional actor and writer. I'm a formally trained actor with a BFA Theater Arts, and I spent most of my time in New York City and in Hollywood. And I had the opportunity to do film and television and stage and musicals and commercials, kind of all of that stuff. But at the time when I was developing that career, you may have heard that artists need to have a day job, a day job in order to survive. And I wasn't really good at food service. And so I ended up developing a professional career at the same time. So as I started to wind down my professional career, I got into the executive search industry, where I was a little bit different, by the way, because I wasn't a recruiter. And sometimes that's known as a headhunter. I was actually the first step of the entire process. But in a nutshell, I was the person who would go and find the candidates, the executives, for the recruiters to go and recruit. And then as I kind of wound that down, I decided instead of helping the companies help find their new executives, I began to start to help the executives find their new companies. And then take it all the way up today. I have 4 books they're called the 20-minute networking meeting. There are 4 different editions. And the work around that, I do professional speaking. I speak to people all over the world, and I hold workshops all over the world up to this point. So that kind of takes us back to the past all the way up to the future. And I think that's probably a pretty good snapshot of my background.
Wow, what a journey, Nathan. I know you said you used to be in acting and the film and the author, but why do you do what you do?
I really like to work with people. I like to help people. And when I was an actor, I would help people with kind of their own resumes and so forth. But at the time, because I had to have so many day jobs, by the way, I got up to around 30 day jobs in the end. I started to get to know the land of job search and career development. And as I started working with these kind of search firms, it just got better and better in terms of being able to help people find their new jobs. So these days I get to work one-on-one with people, and I just like to see their own achievements and be a part of that.
Since you've been in business for many years, let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful in your new venture?
Oh, how do I know that I am successful personally? Because of the feedback that I get. I mean, we could measure it in terms of money. I could maybe even measure it in terms of how many people I work with. But when people land their jobs according to the work that we've done together, and when they recommend other people to me, and I get that feedback, that tells me that I'm successful. And as a professional speaker, especially when I get to speak to large groups, and they let me know personally how much it's helped them, that tells me that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm successful in what I'm doing.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
I've learned that relationship building is the foundation of all business, or at least good and successful business. I think, business tends to be kind of transactional. So, maybe you have a product and maybe I want that product and I'll give you some money and then we kind of move on from there. But people who actually build relationships internally inside of the companies themselves and even externally with other people, that tends to be the formula for success. So I think, I think that's how I know or that's what you see is the relationship building.
Tell my audience about the magic moment, the day it suddenly all went right for you.
Yeah. So I had an experience. This is going back about 7-8 years ago when I started my coaching. I had one particular client from a really big company. And I'm not sure if you'd be familiar with it on your side of the pond, but it's called Best Buy. And this was a person who was a really senior leader in the company. And she asked me to help her with her resume. And I did. And I came back with a lot of notes and a lot of feedback that she said, I have never seen anything like this. And that moment was a huge moment for me because I realized, wow, maybe I really do know what I'm talking about here. Maybe I really do know how to help people who are very, very experienced. And then I worked with one or two people after that, having that confidence, and it kind of sealed the deal for me. And that was it. That was the turning point. I just started to run with it.
What are you still doing in the way you work that you just know you have to stop doing?
Well, that's a really good question. I would say not hesitating anymore. I think sometimes when we feel, it's sort of like what I was just saying, if you're building your confidence, you still have some hesitancy in what you're going to do next or even what you're going to say next. And in my case, what I'm going to write. But having that confidence, it kind of gets rid of the other thing. I feel that I need to sometimes just keep going and take the risks and take that jump. When you do the kind of work that I do, especially as a professional speaker, taking risks is really important. And by that, I mean, sometimes the message that you want to deliver, don't hesitate. It's trusting yourself. So I think it's probably, getting rid of my hesitancy or my apprehensions.
What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
My time. And I don't think I speak just for myself. I think it's for all of us. We should look at it as the gift of time. When someone takes the time with you to help you with anything, that's the most valuable thing that you can give. You can give someone $100 and someone can use that $100 and then it's gone. But when you take the time with somebody and you assist them with whatever it may be, that's it. That's key.
What is the most dangerous belief an entrepreneur can have?
The most dangerous belief that, an entrepreneur could have, that I can't do it. That's the most dangerous belief that someone could have, that I can't do it. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to be able to think you can do everything, because in a really big way, you do have to do everything. And if you believe that you can't, then you can't. That's it. You've already defined it. But if you believe that you can, that means that you just keep going. I think it's said, there's an expression, there's no such thing as a failure who keeps trying. That's the key. That's what I would say. A good question.
Thank you. If you can rerun the first year of your business, what would you definitely not do?
What would I not do? So from an entrepreneur standpoint, you kind of have to make everything work. There really isn't an order to things, just depending on what you're doing. I probably wouldn't be quite as freewheeling. I probably would have put just a little bit more structure to it or prioritized some of the things that I would need to do to build a business.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Yeah, these are such good questions. I think it would be my attitude and just believing that I can keep going forward with whatever it is that I am doing. When there's so much rejection and there's so much stuff kind of pushing against you, you have to have an attitude that says, just keep going. That was only one bad experience, or that was only one thing that happened, and just keep going and enjoying and really enjoying what you're doing.
What grounds you?
What grounds me? Time by myself. It's important to take some time away from all the things that keep us busy professionally, because if we don't have an opportunity to recharge and get that energy back. When we have enough time to self-reflect, then we start to work out all the bugs and all the issues that were giving us troubles in the first place. And if we don't take that time for ourselves, then all we ever have on our mind is work, work, work. And if you don't have time to think about the work and everything that you've done, there's not a way to kind of prioritize everything that you're going to do going forward. You have to kind of recollect yourself from time to time. And in my case, I try to do this frequently. If I don't carve out time during every single day, then it's maybe every couple of days. But I don't do a work week that's going to be 1 week full of work and then, play on the weekends. Because that's 5 days of work, and then 2 days of maybe some rest, but still some work. So it's got to be incorporated into the daily work life.
How has your business pivoted, Jim, concerning what is happening around the globe? How have you pivoted?
Yeah. All this craziness that's going on around the world. Well, in one way, it's been affected because all the people who would hire me are people who are affected in the corporate world. Yet at the same time, so I'm a professional speaker. Lots of the engagements I have are in person. Lots of the workshops I hold that are in person. And this last year, that changed quite a bit because we couldn't be in person. So in one way that it really affected that, and it kind of shrunk. Yet at the same time, it really grew and expanded because everything just went online. But this is a good thing, because on the topic of networking and the stuff that I do, you can still do these things on video. You can still do these things on the phone. Being in person is really important. It would be the preference, but you can still do it virtually. So yeah, this last year has changed things, but I wouldn't say in a negative way. It's just simply changed.
How long does a networking meeting really have to be?
20 minutes. And it can be shorter than that. It can be longer than that. The book is called The 20-Minute Networking Meeting, but that is not a hard and fast rule. Like I said, it can be shorter, it can be longer. But lots of folks think that, when you have a networking meeting, the longer the meeting, the better that is. It can be at least an hour long. But if you really think about it, all the stuff that you might discuss in 1 hour, really, there's only a few things that you end up really wanting to talk about. And if you filter all that other stuff out, then it just takes 20 minutes. That's it.
Okay. In between of our meeting, when can I ask for a job?
Oh, yeah. You don't. You don't.
I need a job. But you can say,
Yes.
20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I have 10 minutes, then 15, I'm going to ask the job, then another last 5 minutes, I'm going to have a response.
Right. Now, here's the reason why, though. Here's the reason you wouldn't do that. When you are networking for career development or job search, what you're actually doing is trying to get information from people that help you with your job search or career development, because more often than not, you're not going to be networking with hiring people or hiring professionals or recruitment people. So what happens is, if you're networking with someone who has a job similar to you, and you ask them for a job, you kind of put them on the spot, because they're really not in a position to know or to be in a position to hire you or to know if there is a job available. So this is something that you would probably avoid in this kind of networking meeting. It would be a little bit different if you were talking with a hiring manager or a recruitment professional. In that case, maybe you could do that. But here's the thing. In a networking meeting, you are also talking about your own professional background and your experiences as part of learning and getting information that's going to help you with your job search. In that case, because you are also sharing your experiences and your background, other people already pick up on whether or not you are qualified or you're someone who's a good fit for something, some opportunity that they know about. So that work actually kind of gets done on its own. You don't actually have to ask someone because they'll bring it up on their own if they're aware of something.
But why don't other people want to network?
Usually it's about time. Time tends to be the deciding factor. And the reason why, and maybe you've been in this position, maybe other listeners have been in this position, they get a request and it says, hey, could I use just like 20, 30 minutes of your time? And, we want to help because by nature, most of us really want to help other people. But we tend not to want to help if our time isn't used wisely. So if a person says, 20, 30 minutes of your time, and then it turns into an hour, that's a lot of time. But you wanted to help, right? And then someone else asks again, 20, 30 minutes of your time, and you think, sure, I'll help. And you say yes, and then it's another hour. And you think, oh my gosh, it happened again. But the third time someone reaches out, people aren't as likely to say yes because their time isn't used well. So it tends to be about more than anything about time. And also, meetings tend to kind of go all over the place. Like without an agenda. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they go into a networking meeting is not having an agenda and kind of doing it off the cuff. I'll kind of figure it out when I get there. But the impression that you leave with the other person is that you weren't prepared. And that's what an agenda is. It's a prepared conversation. But other people see that you aren't prepared. And one of your biggest goals in a networking meeting is to ask for more people to meet with. But if your meeting is all over the map, because you don't have a planned conversation, people are very reluctant to introduce you to other people.
But now you said if we asked you your 20 minutes and then turns into an hour and then someone asks and turns into an hour, you are like, no, I don't want to help. Well, that's why you are in this profession.
That's true.
Yes, because I would want to go back to my side. When I am in nursing and I'm in the hospital, I'm supposed to clock off at 9 o'clock. But if my patient is not well, but that time I'm about to finish 5-2, something happened, an emergency, I can't leave until 11 o'clock. So why are you not then thinking, oh, you know what? This is my profession. I picked this one. I'm really passionate about it. I can help. Or at least say, okay, right. 5 minutes only in the front.
That's true. That's true. Well, for me as a professional coach, which is different from the speaking and different from networking, it's kind of the same thing. When someone hires me, there's a length of time that we end up working together. That's just kind of how it works and it structures out. But, when that time runs out and if we're really close and there are other things to talk about or other things just to kind of close up, then you spend the extra time because that's why I'm in the business to begin with. I really want to help other people and see them be successful.
Thank you. In your businesses, do you have a mentor or a coach yourself?
That's a really good question. I really don't have a single mentor. What I have learned, I've had the opportunity to work in a number of industries and different kinds of businesses. And because of that, I have learned so much from so many different kinds of people in all those different industries. And so it's not actually just a single one or two, but there's a handful of people. I would say like 6, 7, 8 different people who really showed me some ropes and helped me understand these, brand new industries that they were brand new to me at the time to help me understand how it all worked. And I'm deeply appreciative of it because these days, the people that I work with, my clients are everything from Hollywood celebrities and producers. I work with veterans, I work with students, and I work with senior executives. And to be honest with you, I never would have been able to work with all of those different kinds of people had I not had people teaching me from all those different industries and businesses. So I don't really have just like one or two. I probably have 6, 7, or 8.
What is the most valuable thing your mentors has told you?
Keep going. You can do this. And they were all just simply supportive. They were supportive and honest. If they thought there's sometimes that we doubt about where we're going, but they have an experience where they can see further down the road than where you are. And that encouragement is huge because while I'm doubting, and if I trust them and how far they've gotten and they can see it, then I keep going. that's kind of how it works, I think, for all of us. I can see it, man. You can just look at this and look at this and look at this. And if you just keep going, it'll get there. And wouldn't you know, that's exactly how it's happened. So I would say the encouragement might be one of the biggest pieces.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
What is the one thing that nobody knows about me? Well, I've already mentioned that I was an actor. I was a competitive swimmer for a very long time. Oh, I have one. I used to have both of my ears pierced. No one knows that, but now everyone's going to know, right? Patience?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
That
Thank
was
you
those
for asking.
Let's talk about your book. Tell us more about it and where can we find your book?
Yes, the book, it is called The 20-Minute Networking Meeting, Learn to Network, Get a Job. And it's probably pretty important to say here that even though it sounds like it's a job search context, all networking is the same. And all the principles of the book, in the book can be applied to all kinds of networking. And because there are different purposes for networking and there are different outcomes for networking, but everything that happens from the beginning of the meeting to the end of the meeting is still just about information and what we do with it. And that is, and I should probably say this right now before I talk about the book, that networking, we tend to kind of pin negative emotions and behaviors to it. So people define networking as sort of this salesy or this name dropping or this kind of slick and smooth sort of thing. But really all it is just obtaining information and exchanging information. And the book is designed to help you actually lead a meeting that's going to last all of 20 minutes at the most. And the purpose of that is to respect and honor the time of the other person, but yourself as well. And what we did constructing the book is we took the 5 most important parts of a meeting and we put time limits to them. And there are just 5 steps. The first step is just a great first impression of you. And I should say before I even go on, all of these things I'm about to say, these are all things that we do all the time, but we don't necessarily do it with this process or practice. So that first step is a great first impression of you. That's just like a couple of minutes long, a little bit of chit chat, before we sit down and actually have our discussion. The second step is a great overview, a snapshot of your professional background. And if you were networking, let's say for sales or marketing or business development or something like that, well, then it doesn't have to be all about your professional background. It could be just a little bit of that to tell them who you are. And the rest could be about your product or your services or maybe even your company. However, it is probably one of the most critical parts of your meeting because what you're really doing is you're setting up context for your great discussion. And your great discussion is your number 3. Okay, that's step number 3. And that's the bulk of your meeting. And that lasts probably around 12 to 15 minutes. And the way that is structured is by questions. You have 5 key questions in the discussion part of your meeting. The first 3 are very specifically formulated for your contact. You're hoping to kind of get the unique wisdom or knowledge that only that person could give you. Because here's an example real quick. We can read lots of blogs and we can and listen to lots of newscasts or read newspaper articles and so forth and so on. But what we're trying to do when we do that is pull together and piecemeal what it is that we're trying to understand. But when you network with somebody, it's the shortcut because that person's probably already in the role or they've been in the role and they can give you specific information to your specific questions, which is why you formulate them specifically for each individual. And so that would be questions 1 through 3. Question number 4, and this is what kind of tends to kind of really throw us networkers when we go out there. Question number 4 is asking for more people to meet with. And that's critically important because that is going to keep moving you forward and gaining that information and getting you closer to what it is that you want, whether that's a job or whether that's business development and new clients. And then the 5th question, and patience, this is probably the most important thing that you could ask in a meeting. And this means in any meeting, that question is, how can I help you? how can I help you for the help that you've just given me? And I can't say it enough. This is a crucial question, and it's a game changer. You will actually literally see a change in your contact because this question really isn't asked. As I said earlier, business tends to be kind of transactional. We kind of trade things and then we sort of move on. But when you ask a question like this, you bring more of a personal element to things. And networking, the foundation of real successful networking is relationship building. And this is one of the strongest ways to build a relationship and help someone understand this is not all about me. I'm not here to take. I'm also here to give back. Okay. So that is that is step number 3, all 5 of the key questions. And then step number 4, wrapping up the meeting. Simple as that. If you're on video, you can wave goodbye. If you're in person, you shake someone's hand, and that's it. And then step number 5 is following up afterward. You follow up immediately to say thank you for your time in your meeting. And then you follow up in time, ongoing follow up, or what I like to call networking maintenance. And that's responsible for keeping your network alive over a course of time. So as I mentioned, great first impression of you, an overview of your background, the discussion where you ask those 5 key questions, wrap up the meeting, and then follow up afterward. That's it. And as I said, it probably sounds pretty familiar because we do this stuff all the time, just without the process and without practicing it. Simple as that.
And where can we find this book and how can we connect with you?
Thank you. You can find the book on Amazon. You can find it. You can get it on the Kindle app. You can find it on iTunes. You can get it from your bookstore. And if you are interested in an audiobook, you can actually go to my website. And this is also where you can find me. And that website is nathanaperez.com. And there's a book site. It's 20mm.com. That's as in 20-minute networking meeting, 20mm.com. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me there. I have a pretty large presence there, and I post a lot of material.
Thank you. There will be more from Nathan in a moment. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform and you are encouraged by Nathan's journey, please go to our website at theonlinesuccessjourney.com. The site has tons of audio clips from hundreds of successful entrepreneurs' guests' journey, all there to help you find a path for your own online success journey. The site offers exclusive members-only content, and you can join absolutely free and be part of this amazing online success community today. Check it out. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com. Now, Nathan, I would love for you to share more with my audience if you are up for it.
I would love to, yeah.
Thank you. Tell us, what is your favorite movie that has some relevance to being an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. That is quite a question. What a question. All right, let's see. This isn't so much entrepreneurship as it is learning kind of the ropes. I like the movie Wall Street quite a lot, but I also so if I were to be a little more contemporary, I would say The Social Network. If you know that movie, it's kind of about the creation of Facebook. I find that to be a really interesting movie, just because you can kind of see the beginnings of how they told us Facebook started. And now, of course, we all know what it looks like now. So probably those 2 films.
If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
If my business was down to the last $100, how would I invest it? I would invest it in a way that would allow me to gain the knowledge or the expertise that would allow me to get past whatever speed bump I'm on that has put me in that position in the first place.
What is the best business book you have ever read?
The 20-Minute Networking Meeting by Nathan A. Perez.
Apart from yours.
Yes, I think that might be it. Also, maybe Who Moved My Cheese? That's a pretty good one, too.
If you are going to keep a note to yourself in your pocket every day, what would be written on it?
That's a good question. I will actually tell you a note that I have stuck to my laptop, and it says, "A writer writes." That is meant for me to look at every single day that I open up my laptop to remind myself that if I really want to write the next book or the next blog or whatever, then I have to actually write it.
Do you feel like you succeeded or like you are only on the way?
I feel like I have succeeded, but I feel like I'm just getting started. I've had the opportunity for almost 10 years now. That was when the first book was published. And the thing is that it was a self-published book. I went through some agencies and I talked to some publishing houses and I decided, I'm going to do this myself because I think what they are saying and what I believe can happen are very different. And so I'm 10 years later with 4 books, and I'm very fortunate and I feel blessed that across the 4 titles, they've won 10 national and international Indie Awards. So I feel like that confirmed that I know what I'm doing. And up to this date, more and more books sell, more and more people reach out to me. And I feel like it's just getting going.
Will you ever stop?
I don't think so. I think I like it too much. I like the challenge of it. I like meeting all the people that I meet. I like doing the work that I do. And the feeling, there's really no replacing that feeling that you've really helped somebody. And I know that we've all had it. It could be, you've carried the groceries in for mom or dad. It could be helping someone with a flat tire. It could be giving someone, the time of day. But the feeling that you get when you've helped someone, it's irreplaceable. And to know that, you can have a whole lifetime of doing this, I don't think I will. I think I'd keep going.
Remind us how we can connect with you.
My website, nathanaperez.com. You can also find me through the book website, 20mm.com, and you can definitely find me on LinkedIn.
Nathan, it's been great to have you here to share your online success journey with us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Patience, for having me on the show.
You are welcome. Thank you. That's a wrap. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Nathan.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest and want you to know there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on her website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast, and they're only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite platform to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at iTunes and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share your journey. One last thing. If you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out her course on clarity while you're at the website. Finding clarity is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.